Hello, beautiful souls. It's Paulie here. And this is probably the most important video I've ever done on addiction. And I hope you take a listen. The title is called Why Compassion and Love Kindness Are My Final Words, My Final Thoughts on Addiction. You see, the last thing I needed back in my addiction was the judgment of others, because I was already in a constant state of beating the living shit out of myself. You see, most people with addiction suffer greatly from self-condemnation, and it only wires the addiction stronger, and it serves nobody. To all those that think that they know the exact reason why somebody relapsed, shame on you. The bottom line is that nobody knows why some recover and some do not. You might guess, but nobody knows, because no one has walked in somebody else's shoes, and addiction is all too encompassing. It is, however, no mystery that the most ill with addictions are some of the most traumatized. In fact, most of those living on the streets with addictions have experienced unthinkable past trauma. And so who am I to judge if they can't find recovery? Society often forgets that most childhood trauma before the age of 4 is usually unknowable. But their pain is never forgotten. It lives and breathes in the pain body. Many also have mental illness up the kazoo, and I could go on and on. The bottom line is that some of us are just more hardwired for addiction than others. However, the experts, and I included, believe it's about pain. And our surest way to heal our suffering is compassion for others. I also believe we need to change our ideas about what success really is, because no two cases or people are identical. We must get off this bandwagon of clean time as a parameter of success, because addiction is a chronic brain disorder that affects the mind, body, and spirit of everybody differently. Each person is at a different level of addiction. It's no different than the different levels of cancer. For example, stage 1 cancer is the easiest to treat. Somebody in stage 4 is harder to treat, and it's more dangerous. Somebody could die. In my case, death was calling over the last 10 years of my addiction, because I was like a stage 4 addict. Unfortunately, I had to pay a very high price for my seed in recovery. But fortunately, I did the work and I remembered who I was. And I love that person today. I woke up and discovered that indeed recovery is the new cool, and I lost all desire to use. True compassion, not judgment, is what those who are still active in addiction need the most. Because compassion is our most effective way to help them see their truth and to break their denial. As my mentor always said, Paul, I'm here to keep reminding you that love is who you really are, so that one day you will believe it for yourself. So if you know someone who's trying to recover and can only seem to put together one day, a week, a month clean, or someone that goes on methadone or some other harm reduction medication, refrain from judgment. Don't do it. Instead, choose to see the light in them, because compassion and love kindness is what they really need. In the height of my addiction, there were only 2 people who would even take my calls, and that was Lorraine and my mom. Everyone else made a decision to let go, which is understandable because I was constantly relapsing. If it were not for these 2 beautiful, compassionate, loving souls, I don't believe I would have made it. But many pay the ultimate price with their lives. Some were my personal friends. Please let go of judgment. Addiction, it's not a moralistic issue. It's not a criminal issue. It's a health issue. Treat everyone the same, because we never know. That newcomer might be our sponsor or save our ass one day, or our son or daughter or grandchild or good friend may one day be ill themselves and need our compassion. Addiction was not a curse after all. It was my blessing, because it made me wake up and discover my true nature of love, peace, and joy. Addiction led me to a higher purpose beyond anything I could ever imagine. And this video today is another example of that blessing. People always ask me why I wanted to write a recovery book. My answer? I believe that when enough people understand the real truth of addiction, we will witness recovery like never seen before. Why? Because when the overall world consciousness changes from judgment to compassion and love kindness, those suffering with an addiction will feel safe enough to come out of hiding and ask for help. It was the real motive for my book. It was the real motive for this video. But it must all start with each one of us, one consciousness at a time. Namaste.